the Spotlight, where we shine the spotlight on the arts here in St. Lucie Public Schools. It has been a wonderful time for the arts. Many things have been happening all across the district, and we are so excited to have this opportunity to share just one of those things with you this morning. What has been happening? I'm sure you're asking that question. Many things, as I've already mentioned. I could tell you about the giving concert that featured 9 choirs giving the gift of music to our audience. Our audience, in turn, gave the gift of a non-perishable item. And then after that, we gave that gift to Grace Packs, which goes back into our community. Again, using the gift of music to help make our community a better place. We have many of our high school choirs that also auditioned again for the candlelight procession at Disney World. Some of those choirs are making their 15th, 19th continuous appearance in the Disney processional. We wish them the best of luck also. In addition, we have had many of our band students and choir students that auditioned for All-State, and they have been selected to participate in that wonderful ensemble, or those ensembles, during our Florida Music Educators Conference in January. You'll have an opportunity to meet one of those students this morning. But as school gets started in the high school arena, it's all about the marching band. Well, people want to say it's all about football, but we like to think that we don't watch the football game until after the halftime show. So this morning we have famed music director, band director extraordinaire, Gene August, and the wonderful drum major from Westwood High School, Javon Osborne, as our guest this morning. That's going to talk to us about this concept of the marching band and what their marching band season has been like since the start of school. Mr. August, Mr. Osborne, welcome to the Spotlight.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, Mr. August, just in case someone doesn't know who the famed Gene August is, would you please give us a little bit about your background?
I graduated from Dillard High School, went to Bethune-Cookman College, and finished at Florida Memorial. I was in the Marine Corps Band for 4 years, and I've taught this is my 17th year teaching, my 3rd year this year at Fort Pierce Westwood.
It's so pleasure for us to have you on the show again. And Javon, you're coming into your own, you're making waves at Westwood
Yes.
High School. So give us a little bit about your bio and what you're doing as well.
Well, I am, of course, the drum major for Fort Pierce Westwood. I'm also the senior class president. Over the years, I've been drum major for now 2 years, 3 years altogether, 2 years as head drum major. Leading up to that, I went to Florida State University for the Marching Band Leadership Camp, and I got the opportunity to win Most Outstanding Drum Major for my distinguished leadership skills. And I also got a chance to work with Boston Crusaders and work with some world-class conductors.
Welcome to the show. Now, Mr. August, we're going to talk about this concept of the marching band. I know that the marching band concept originates from the military. You mentioned that you were in the Marine Corps Band, so tell us a little bit about your experience as a member of that famed organization.
It was an experience. There's a lot of musicians there that are just high level, and they're focused, and they're serious about their craft. The desire to have the perfect show is constantly there. We practiced every week, had a performance every week. We moved in and out of town. Sometimes we'd have like 3 or 4 performances during the week. We'd have to cover for different bands. We had to, actually one time we had to perform in place of the President's Own. So the musicianship level and the structure is just really high.
And you know, you mentioned the President's Own. When I was a band director many moons ago, I had this group called the Director's Own, because I figured that if the president could have his own, I could have my own as well. When you talk about this concept of practicing many hours for a performance every week, what tools do you use in practicing with your students, rehearsing your students now, that you developed or learned as a student, as an education major, and as a part of the famed Marine Corps Band?
The one thing that I learned the most is to break down to the fundamentals and just stick with the fundamentals and go over it constantly, because those are the things that help us break through. The next thing is to make sure that we have structure and discipline. Not discipline in the sense of consequence, but discipline in what we do, to make sure that what we practice is perfected every time we do it. If we don't do it right, do it again, and we do it again, and we do it again until we get it correct. The thing that I learned in the in the Marine Corps is you have got to follow the drum major. You have got to follow the drum major. We spent countless of hours learning how to follow the drum major. In finishing in college, I also realized that it's not about the director as much as it is about the musicians. It's not as much about the musicians as it is about the audience that you are performing for. So a lot of these things we take into consideration when we come up with our shows, when we come up with the style of marching that we're doing, when we're thinking about the discipline that we need to have and how we need to approach each student that is in our program.
Javon, I saw you shaking your head when Mr. August was talking about fundamentals and talking about discipline.
Yes.
You want to add on to that, because you were really giving him the proof, like, yeah, that's what you make us do.
Yes. we spent a lot of times going on fundamentals. I like how he's very specific and clear as instructions of what needs to happen. He explains it, and it's very clear. It needs to happen this way, and it's in practical steps so everybody can understand. And we try to break it down so that other people can understand. We try to also get them involved in the learning experience as to what is happening. And it helps us to really focus in on it. And discipline is you have to fix it yourself. You have to start seeing it. As they start doing it more and more, they start fixing it, you know.
I really like that you said it wasn't discipline for a consequence, which is what we generally think about when we use the word discipline. But it was about discipline for making me better.
Yes,
at my craft. Excellent. We're talking about this idea of marching band. When does the marching band season actually begin as far as your preparations for what we see at what I like to call a football game? I like to call it football band. When does that all begin?
Well, actually, for me, it begins now. So now I'm actually making preparations for next year. Now we start talking about what is our idea for a show. What songs are we going to play in the stands? How are we going to present ourselves? What is our theme for the show? These are things that we do now. It takes us a long time because we have to not only come up with the theme, come up with the songs, but we have to get the arrangements for the songs. Then we have to find a way to put the drill, what formations are we going to use to best describe the show that we are actually putting out in front of the audience.
So you mentioned getting the arrangements for the show. Do you go to a company and buy stock arrangements and use those arrangements, or what's happening in that area?
Well, for me personally, I like to have my own arrangements because I understand my ensemble. I know what best fits my ensemble. Some people like to use stock arrangements, and they know how to work that to fit their ensemble. But for me, I know what every individual instrumentalist and their capabilities of what they can do, where they can go, how I see them now and what I see them progressing to in the future decides how I would arrange the music that I'm actually writing for the group.
So what you're telling me is that you have a custom show, Mr. August.
I don't have a custom show. I have more of a custom idea. A custom show is something that's already written out for you. It's not written out. It's depending on what I see in front of me right now.
So based on the musicians that you have, based on the instrumentations that you may have in your group, and you're looking at their strengths and I'll use the word weaknesses this morning, you begin to develop your concept around those ideas so that it puts them in the best light possible?
Yes, sir. And also when in putting it here we're talking about marching band, but the general idea of our marching band is to have a concert band that is actually moving. So when we start our concert season at this moment, the better the concert band is, the better my marching band is going to be. So whatever we're doing in the concert season actually elevates everything that we are doing in the marching season that follows.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, because people tend to think that there is a main difference in the musicianship between the marching band and the concert band. But what I think I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that those fundamentals, the same kind of discipline that you mentioned earlier, that it takes to be a concert musician, are applicable in the marching.
Yes, sir. A musician is a musician. Is a musician.
So how do we take those concepts about tone, about balance, about blend, about intonation in the concert band and use them as building blocks for what the marching band will sound like?
We don't let it go. We do not let it go. My students would tell you, whatever we're doing during concert season, we're actually doing it during the marching season. I don't deviate, because for me, it's all the same. The only difference between, literally, the only difference between my concert band and my marching band is that we are moving.
Giovanni, you're nodding your head again, so let me make you get in here. You're over there and say, yeah, that's exactly. So tell us some of those things that you see that are a part of your rehearsals in concert band that are also being used in your marching band, be it your warm-ups, be it your skills, those kinds of things. And
Fundamentals.
that's that word he used to start the conversation earlier, right?
Sticking to the fundamentals, it's the key. I don't know how to explain that. It is really the key. We're focusing on doing the fundamentals and going over it and keeping the discipline. We have to make sure we're getting it right. We have to make sure we're doing it together. We have to move together. We have to start together.
So what do you guys call your fundamentals? Would it be how you warm up? Would it be what you use in your warm-ups? Would it be this idea of breath support? Mr. August, Giovanni?
It's really the warm-up. It's really the warm-up. We go through the long tones, the lip slurs, the articulation,
For
the
our
phrasing.
audience, what is a long tone? What is a lip slur?
I had a student ask me that before I came to Westwood. It just surprised me. But a long tone is just holding a note out for a long period of time.
And what are you working on when you're playing that long tone? What are you trying to produce?
The first thing is to make sure that our armatures are set. It's usually started off at a mid-volume, and we just hold our armatures and we're holding the pitch to make sure that we can actually hold the pitch. We're listening to make sure that we have the intonation there, that our tone is the tone that we're actually looking for. We're looking for making sure that not just that it's within ourselves, making sure that we have the correct tone for our instrument, but that we have the correct sound for the entire group, that we're matching, that we sound the same.
So when we're holding those long tones, because we understand that music has aspects of language arts, has aspects of science in it as well as foreign language in it as well. We want that tone to not waver. We don't want to hear those sound waves moving. We want the pitch to be straight and consistent.
Yes, sir. It should be.
Science lesson going on later. In music class.
440.
A440, the vibrations, right?
A440, and the pitch should not waver. It should not move, which is a difficult thing for anybody, no matter what level of musician you are. So it's the thing that we're all striving to make sure that our pitches don't move, and it really is matching the color. For me, it's a certain color. Where some bands like to have bright sounds. Me, I prefer to have darker sounds, a darker color, nice, thick, rich, lush, and beautiful sound. No matter what the instrument, I try to make sure that everybody matches down to the tubas, to our lower brass, so we get it stays nice and warm.
I like to call it the pride of Fort Pierce. the Westwood High School Marching Panther Band. This is your third year there.
Yes, sir.
Javon's second year as head drum major and a senior this year, graduating senior. Tell us, what was the concept, the idea for this year's marching band show, and what music you included in your show? Either one of you.
All right. This year's show is called A World in Need of Change, and the concept was
A World in Need of Change.
A World in Need of Change. And the concept was that there's so much going on in the world currently, and we see it almost every day, and that we wanted to send out some kind of message of peace and hope, and started here in our community, and that it would just continue to go on out.
World in Need of Change, Mr. August. Javon mentioned sending out a message of peace and hope. Anything else from you?
He actually put it in there in a nutshell. We had a lot of things going on in the beginning of the year, going on with Black Lives Matter, excuse me, Blue Lives Matter, and our message is all lives matter. We need to be more considerate of each other.
So a message of hope, a message of peace, a message of love. To bring this idea to fruition, a world in need of change, sparking the idea about hope and love and peace, what music, Javon, did you use in this show to kind of convey that idea?
Our first song was Rhythm Nation, and even in the beginning, Janet Jackson talks about how we are like-minded individuals, all going after one vision, that we're all should be going after this vision of hope. The second song, we talk about Man in the Mirror, and how it starts with ourselves. We want to make a change. Then we go into Love Train. We should all be together.
People all the world join hands.
Yeah.
And we start a love. It really is true. What the world needs now is more love. Yeah. Was that your last song?
No. Then we finish out with Imagine by John Lennon, and then we finish with our finale with America the Beautiful.
Oh wow.
Awesome.
So you start us off with this message of hope from Janet Jackson, and you weave us all the way to America. A salute to who we all are, where we all are. Any additions to what Javon added?
Again, he
great drum major, right?
Yes, great, outstanding drum major. I don't have to say much of anything, but yes, the Rhythm Nation. We want to let the world know we need to be a rhythm that's on a nation that's on the same rhythm. We need to be on the same beat. We need to be walking together, not against each other.
That's good stuff.
Man in the Mirror, those changes that we need to see in the world. I generally hear people talk about, these people need to change. These people need to change. And really, Michael Jackson hit it on the head. If you want to see a change, you need to be that change. You need to start with yourself. The Love Train, we need to all get on board. We need to all get on board. We need to get on the love train and have love for our fellow man. Imagine, it is a hard concept to actually see, but if everybody just looks for it, they can see that. If they can imagine a place that didn't have any war, that we weren't fighting each other, the things that we could actually be together. The America the Beautiful, everybody is here because of what they envisioned America being. They envisioned America being a great nation where everybody can be successful, everybody can flourish. So we need to stop fighting each other and flourish together and be the America that we're supposed to be.
So when we look at the title, A World in Need of Change, if we talk about a nation that's walking in the same rhythm, if we all get on the love train together and we begin to imagine, if we start with ourselves looking, we can be that world of change. We can be that America of change. That's awesome. That's great concept. I saw the show. I enjoyed the show so much. By the time you walked us from a nation trying to be in the same rhythm all the way to what we saw happening with America, and I hope we get to see some of that today. The concept was really, really well put together. I know there was a unity show over at Centennial High School The fabulous music that we heard from Treasure Coast High School, Port St. Lucie High School, as well as Central High School, and we're going to have some B-roll of all of those ensembles, marching bands, because they did an excellent job. Many people don't know that I mentioned those earlier things that is happening in the music world here in St. Lucie County, but also we had the inaugural St. Lucie Marching Band Showcase that featured the 5 high school marching bands, the steel drum ensemble from Lincoln Park Academy. But the hit was that we had middle school 7th and 8th grade students that opened up with playing of our national anthem, but they joined those 5 high school bands on the field at the end for the playing of Stand By Me. Javon, talk about that experience, the showcase experience.
That was a very awesome experience. I think I've never experienced anything else like it. It was a lot of unity there between all of the high schools and the middle schools, and it allowed the middle schools to get a chance to get to be a part of what's happening. You know, a lot of times they get to watch and be like, oh, I can't wait one day to be there or to be a part of it, and they get the opportunity to be a part of it, of the show.
I was walking out that evening, Javon, and I saw this kid with his parent, and I said, oh, what a great night for music in St. Lucie County. And the kid was just jolly. Yeah, I can't wait. Next year I'll be out there. And so it was a great experience. Mr. August, from a high school band director's point of view, what do you think about the showcase?
Well, honestly, my favorite part of the showcase was seeing the middle school kids. Watching them out there, that just got me really excited. I was there. I spoke to quite a few of them. But the high schools coming together and performing, that was something else in itself. In that fact that the middle school kids were able to play with the high schoolers at the end. Being able to see everybody's show, because we don't usually get the opportunity to see all of our high schools actually perform. You know, at football games, you see one, but you don't see the other. But when we seen everybody in succession, that was an amazing thing.
Yeah, we want to thank Mr. Hall and the fabulous students of the Titan Band down at Treasure Coast High School, Mr. Wiley and the wonderful students at Port St. Lucie High School Marching Jaguar Band. Of course, our friends over at Fort Pierce Central with our wonderful new high school director, Mr. Crumpton. We want to thank Mr. Host and all the fabulous students of the Centennial Eagle Regiment Marching Band. And for that night of the showcase, those students from Lincoln Park Academy, I love a steel drum ensemble, and they really, really did a good job of helping prep and open up. It was a night where we had probably close to 600-700 students on the field, a great night for music, and with those middle school students, we know that the future of music in St. Lucie Public Schools is going to be in good hands. Now, I also know that from all of those bands that I've talked about, including the Pride of Fort Pierce, the Westwood High School Marching Panther Band, there are a few other ensembles that make up this marching band idea. So let's talk about those ensembles and how they are used to paint the picture of a world in need of change. Want to start with, I guess the most obvious one would be your auxiliary group.
Oh, our auxiliary is amazing. I am so thankful for Miss Melanie Tate with the work that she does with them. It's just amazing. But they accentuate everything that we're actually doing. You see the different colors on the field, the flags, like especially when we did the America, the change that brought in, and the red, white, and blue, to let everybody know that we were actually serious about what we were saying. In the beginning, they were just so exciting from the beginning of the show. The first step that they made, the first spin that they made was exciting. The dancers, it's an amazing ensemble.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. And when we talk about the auxiliary group for Westwood High School, we know that there's a dance team, there's a flag line, and a B team, and they all do these separate things, but then they all come together, making one big unit as well. Let's talk about that drum line as well, that drum line, because you have battery for our guests on the field, but then your whole battery comes off the field to make a front line pit ensemble.
Yes, they do. The those young men are pretty much all sophomores and a few freshmen, and Mr. Carter has done a phenomenal job with those students. We, I would like to say that I've done a lot with them, but it's just their desire to learn and their desire to do well that just helps us do what we do. I'm just thankful to be the director of these wonderful students.
And Javon, there's another frontline ensemble called the Drum Major. So tell us what it was like being drum major briefly and what your future plans are.
Well, it's been an awesome couple years. It's been really awesome because I've got a chance every year to see students come in, especially coming from middle schools, and they come from the beginning not knowing really what's marching or how to march or really how this part goes, and you see them over time grow, and they grow each practice rehearsal. They start learning to go, oh, it goes that way. You start to see the learning experience. And for me, I feel like that really impacted me for my future goals to actually want to be a music educator.
Music educator, so that means you're going to go to school and major in music. What school do you plan on attending?
I am looking at Florida State University, but I am also looking at some other schools as well.
Please look at some other schools. Yes. And I need to let our audience know that in January you will be participating in the All-State Ensemble Band Ensemble as well. Which one of those groups did you make?
The All-State Honor Band.
All-State Honors Band. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this edition of The Spotlight. We want to thank Mr. August and his wonderful drum major, Javon Osborne, for being with us as we celebrate this time of the year with music and the marching band concept and all that's been happening here in the music world. We wish you all the best for your concert season as well as those other 5 high schools. Thank you for joining us here on The Spotlight, where we shine the spotlight on the arts.